Most Americans want to believe that the United States is the gold standard of clean food. But that belief may not hold up to scrutiny. From unsanitary practices in mass production to the addition of dangerous chemicals, countries have good reason to give the side eye to imported foods claiming to be USDA approved. That's right. Today we're talking about American foods that have been banned by other countries. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Then leave a comment and tell us what other health facts you'd like to know more about. Now let's see how wrong the rest of the world really is. Your time is valuable, so let's get right into it. Skittles. Since the dawn of Skittles, there have been rumors about the dangers of eating them. Every one of us heard at least one classmate claim that the red ones make you sterile, and the yellow ones, they give you cancer. Turns out, it might be worse than that. First of all, your classmate wasn't wrong. The dyes known as yellow 5 and yellow 6 have been linked to hives and hyperactivity in children. Sweden and Norway have banned the candies out of the concern. The European Union will most likely be banning Skittles at the end of the year, having already swapped out some of the dye for more natural flavors. This is because of something called titanium dioxide, which can be found making the colors pop across the rainbow. Research linked titanium dioxide to damage to DNA, which can lead to cancer. While Europe may be ahead of the Skittles awareness curve, America is quickly catching up. In May of 2021, the Environmental Working Group asked the FDA to categorize titanium dioxide as a toxic. And yes, before you ask, right now, the FDA says it's okay to consume some of that chemical compound. You can taste the rainbow, but it's just in moderation. California is home to an ongoing lawsuit against Mars Inc., the parent company of Skittles. The lawsuit claims Skittles are not only toxic, but are unfit for human consumption. So maybe for now, play it safe and just go have some Swedish fish instead. Bread. Have you ever looked at a crusty French baguette, either in a cartoon or in real life, likely in the hands of Pepe Le Pew, and thought, I can't make a sandwich with that? Despite our praise for the invention of sliced bread, many European countries have actually banned numerous types of bread commonly found on American grocery shelves. The reason? We make a lot of our bread not just with grain, but with a plethora of additives. One such additive is azodicarbonamide, which is used to bleach flour and strengthen dough. Fun fact, azodicarbonamide is also found in various industrial products, including yoga mats. Downward dogs. The European Union strongly opposes the idea of its citizens consuming yoga mat material and has consequently banned the use of azodicarbonamide in food products. Pork. Pork, the other white meat, is a staple of American meats, along with chicken, fish, and beef. From bacon to ham, hot dogs to pork chops, American meat eaters consume about 67 pounds of pig per person every year. Yikes, my heart is stopping. Don't get us wrong, other nations indulge in swine just as much, if not more, than Americans. So why doesn't the US export scores of succulent bacon-bearing boars? Well, it turns out Americans add a lot of chemicals during processing. Ractopamine in particular is used in many pig farms to raise porkier porkers. Ractopamine, which we put a dash of in a lot of foods, has been banned in 160 countries, which all consider the drug unsafe for human consumption. This in turn has led to a prohibition of pork exports across the world. The EU hasn't touched this stuff since outlawing ractopamine in 2009. China and Russia have been ractopamineless since 2013. Maybe that's because ractopamine has the same effects as an intoxicant on humans and can cause tachycardia, headaches, and muscle spasms if consumed in large enough quantities. But it is a small price to pay for a perfect piece of pork. Chicken. In America, hygiene often involves dousing food in a chlorine bath and calling it FDA approved, and chicken is no exception. Pathogen reduction treatments, or PRTs, use various chemicals to destroy harmful microbes on raw meat. At some point, American food regulators decided that a quick chlorine shock was the best way to eliminate salmonella and other bacteria on uncooked poultry. Chlorine marinade. It's not that the EU is entirely against chlorine. They recognize that the risks posed by chlorine consumption are relatively low. However, their bigger concern is that chlorine baths are just a superficial fix for a larger problem. They're worried that PRTs don't address the root causes of contamination, such as low-quality feed and unsanitary coops on farms. The EU has criticized the chlorine rinse as an easy fix, arguing that no chemical rinse will ever remove all bacteria from meat heavily contaminated as a result of poor hygiene. Hearing this critique from the French stings a bit more. Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew is the closest any soft drink has come to being fully weaponized. But did you know in Austria and Norway the soda is outright banned? That's because Mountain Dew's signature Chernobyl radiant hue comes from tartrazine, also known as yellow 5. And if your ADHD hasn't kicked in yet, you'll remember that color and number from the Skittles section earlier. It's been linked to headaches, hyperactivity, and the desire to be annoying to other people. Ironically, the qualities that make Mountain Dew a soda non grata in other countries are exactly what the brand promotes: a frenetic, over-caffeinated lifestyle. Do the Dew! Baja Blast! Woohoo! And while you might be able to find Mountain Dew in Europe, it's gonna hit a little different. That's because Europe spent exactly 2 years in the 90s riding the Dew before discontinuing it. What is being sold as Mountain Dew in the EU has a recipe closer to the original carbonated beverage, as created by Tennessee beverage bottlers Barney and Allie Hartman in the 1940s. The original Mountain Dew was meant as a whiskey mixer, with the name coming from the affectionate Scottish term for moonshine. "It'll tickle your innards," is what the old ads used to read. No lies detected here. Yahoo! Mountain Dew. Little Debbie Swiss Rolls. Since the 1960s, Little Debbie has been a staple of American comfort snack foods with a variety of treats like zebra cakes, star crunches, nutty bars, fudge rounds, and cosmic brownies. However, their most iconic product, as many can recall from childhood lunches, is the Little Debbie Swiss Rolls, a delightful mix of rich chocolate cake and creamy butter filling. Each year, over 900 million cartons of Little Debbie products are shipped, but none of these cartons make their way to Austria or Norway. The reason? Those pesky additives yellow 5 and red 40. Swiss rolls contain 32 milligrams of dye per product, which have been shown to adversely affect children, causing issues beyond just hyperactivity. One study even found that eliminating all artificial food coloring from diets could be almost as effective as prescribing Ritalin for kids. While there's no definitive proof linking artificial food coloring to cancer, these dyes do damage white blood cells, causing them to mutate in as little as 3 hours. Such exposure could lead to tumor cells multiplying much more rapidly. Due to these risks, researchers advise against a high chronic intake of food colorings over a lifetime. If only they weren't so delicious. Surprisingly, you can find Little Debbie Swiss rolls in the EU, but they come with warning labels about the potential dangers to children, much like cigarette warnings. Special K cereal. When you hear the words banned breakfast cereal, you're probably imagining one of the countless kid-focused brands of sugary morsels like the oh-so-delicious Cookie Crisp. So you might be surprised to learn that it's actually Special K, the most boring cereal on Earth that has been banned in Denmark and discouraged in the EU. How does the healthiest box of flakes on the shelf get banned while stuff like Reese's Puffs and Cinnamon Toast Crunch continue to enjoy free passage? Ironically, because of its supposed health benefits. In the UK, Special K has been put on blast by the Advertising Standards Authority for exaggerating how much folic acid they pack into portions. Though it's still legal to buy in Europe, Denmark has completely banned Special K since 2004 for all its fortified vitamins and minerals. Regulators argue that Kellogg's cereal's unnaturally high levels of everything from vitamin A to zinc actually qualify Special K as a genetically modified organism, or GMO. More specifically, Special K is swole with the same artificial compounds that studies have shown to potentially pose health risks, specifically to children and pregnant women. In conclusion, you may want to stick with crunch berries. Steak tartare. You don't need to take a transcontinental flight to visit countries that have banned American foods. Just drive up to the Canadian border, flash your passport, and sign an affidavit stating that you're not smuggling any steak tartare in your trunk. Today, consuming raw meat has fallen out of fashion in the US, much like other foods like veal and pate, which don't make you sick but might make you sad. But while baby cow and overstuffed goose liver is illegal in parts of America now, tartare is not. You see, while veal and pate may be uncool, they are also served hot, unlike tartare, which is chopped up cold meat straight from the cow. Undercooked or raw foods can lead to an increase in food poisoning and parasitic infections, especially in beef and poultry. But considering how fancy pants steak tartare is, Titanic food one might say, you'd think countries might look the other way and let the luxury delicacy slide. And for a long time, they did. In Canada, meat has to reach an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit, the equivalent of a medium-rare steak, in order to be considered safe to serve. But those rules aren't strictly enforced. That is, until recently. In 2021, restaurant owners in New Brunswick selling steak tartare were all served cease and desist letters. Canadian public health officials had decided that amid the ongoing health crisis of COVID-19, the last thing their citizens needed was a side order of botulism. Coca-Cola. Is there anything more American than Coca-Cola? The fizz, the flavor, the former secret ingredient, cocaine. Coke is essentially apple pie in beverage form, and it's not just Americans who are crazy about Coke. Invented by a pharmacist in 1886 Georgia, Coca-Cola quickly became popular overseas. It was the drink of choice for GIs during World War II. Before the pandemic, Coca-Cola boasted 500 brands in over 200 countries, making it the best-selling soft drink and one of the most recognizable brands of all time. However, there are always exceptions. Unlike other entities on this list, the bans on Coca-Cola have nothing to do with health concerns. Everyone knows Coke isn't healthy. We've just collectively decided that we don't care. The countries that have outlawed the brand have done so because of what it represents, a symbol of American capitalism's encroachment. From 1962 to 2011, the U.S. banned sales of Coke to Burma as part of sanctions against the military junta that ruled the country. Sales resumed in 2012. Today, Coca-Cola is only unavailable in 2 countries with long-term trade embargoes with the U.S. North Korea hasn't allowed Coke since 1950, and Cuba has banned it since Fidel Castro seized supplies in 1962. First the prequels, now Coke. Is there anything that can't be ruined by the federalization of trade taxation? In a twist of irony and lime, Cuba was actually one of the first bottlers of the beverage outside of America. Today, Cuba Cola has replaced Coke as the country's soft drink of choice, though black market sales abound. After all, Cuba is the birthplace of the Cuba Libre, also known as the rum and Coke. M&Ms. M&Ms, the delicious melt-in-your-mouth, not-in-your-hands, were originally a collaboration between the science sons of the Mars and Hershey dynasties in 1941. Like Coca-Cola, M&Ms gained international fans during World War II as American soldiers popularized the candy overseas as the chocolate that won't get your trigger fingers all sticky. But you won't find the candy in Sweden, where it's banned due to a trademark conflict with a popular national candy that also features lowercase m's as its signature. When Mars introduced the candy to Sweden in 2009, a court ruled its marketing too similar to that of the Norwegian Marabus, which resembled Kit Kats. During World War I, Marabou had moved its manufacturing to its Swedish neighbors, where it received a royal warrant of appointment by the King of Sweden. And here we thought the Swiss were the chocolate snobs. Should you want to check out what the fuss is all about, Marabous is sold in IKEA stores here in the US. Well, at least it's good to know that M&Ms don't contain any harmful dyes or chlorine residue, right? That's a pretty important victory for hard-shelled chocolate. So the question you might be asking right now is, what can I do to protect myself from those banned foods and harmful ingredients? While we can't immediately control what food companies put in their products, we do have the power to decide what we consume. Here are some actionable steps you can take to make healthier, safer food choices wherever you live. Read food labels carefully. Familiarize yourself with banned ingredients and their alternative names. Check labels on packaged foods to ensure you're not consuming these substances. Choose minimally processed or whole organic foods. Opt for fruits, vegetables, legumes, and grains. These foods typically don't contain the long list of additives found in processed products. Cook at home as much as possible. When you cook at home, you have full control over the ingredients. This allows you to align your meals with your health values and dietary preferences. Avoid GMOs and factory-farmed products. Choose non-GMO foods and support farms that prioritize ethical and sustainable practices. Sign petitions and advocate for change. Get involved in public policy from the comfort of your home by signing petitions. Websites like the Center for Food Safety offer opportunities to support initiatives for safer food regulations. Empower your choices. You don't have to wait for the FDA or USDA to change their policies. By making informed decisions, you can take a stand for a healthier life with every bite you take. Join the conversation. How concerned are you about dangerous banned ingredients in the food supply? Do you think the U.S. should adopt a more rigorous process for reviewing chemicals in food? Are there any foods or ingredients you avoid because of safety concerns? If you enjoyed this deep dive into food controversies, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating health facts. Check out our other videos on our channel for more eye-opening content. Thanks for watching.